Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker for the day. She is a lady who does not require much introduction because she's a face that we are all very familiar with, a name that we know and have interacted with. She's none other than Yvonne Okwara. She's a senior news anchor with Citizen TV, part of the Royal Media Services. And we are really just looking forward to hearing her insights on this question. Is visibility as important as ability? Yvonne, good morning and welcome.
So being seen and being heard is important. It's definitely not a substitute for your ability, but let me get right into it. All right, okay. So number one, people need to know you. They need to know what you do. They need to know what your capabilities are, because nobody can know what it is that you need. No one is going to give you the opportunities that you need to rise. Nobody is going to be able to pinpoint and say, oh, look, so-and-so, come here. We think you're in a position to make a contribution to the organization. You're going to be passed up for opportunities, for training, indeed, as well for promotions. But how do you get yourself seen? I guess that's the big question. How do you put your visibility and your brand and your name and your skills out there enough for you to get noticed and therefore to enable you to rise in your career? Well, for me, the number one thing is ask for help. You've been given a task. Are you clear about what the deliverables are? Do you know what you're supposed to do? As opposed to getting a task and going out there and starting to do it, you're not clear about what it is. And then what happens? You start to make mistakes. So asking for help is also a sign that you want to fully understand what it is that you've been asked to do. And you also want to make sure that you do it well. The number two way of getting yourself seen and heard is to offer yourself and to volunteer. I'm a big believer in asking for more responsibility, giving suggestions, giving recommendations, just putting yourself out there. And sometimes a lot of us seem to think, well, I'll just go in, I'll do the bare minimum, I'll do what I was asked to do, and then I will leave. However, it is very important for you to be seen, to be out there, to be wanting to do a lot more than what you've already been asked to do. So are you the person that walks up to your supervisor and says, look, I've noticed we're doing project XYZ, and there's ways in which we can make it better, or I had some thoughts on this. What can we do about this? So volunteering yourself, putting yourself forward, giving suggestions, being proactive, that just says to somebody that I am here. And remember, all of these things that you're trying to do is about making sure that you are top of mind in your supervisor, in your boss's mind, in the organization structure, and making sure that they know you are there, and making sure that they know you are a valuable member of the organization. All right? Now, the other thing we're talking about, what I said at the beginning, is about visibility not being a substitute for ability, because that's another mistake that we make. We think, oh, well, I'll just be everywhere. I'll make sure people know what I'm doing. But what is it? What's the substance of what you are doing? Is it work that makes sense? Is it work that is valuable, right? So beyond just the visibility, but what work are you actually doing? And can your work actually speak for itself? So this is where we come in with the reputation and creating small, consistent habits that lead you to do good work. All right. Now, what are some of the things that you do that enable people to say, oh, there's something special that he or she is doing? So for example, do you keep time? What does your outlook look like? How do you dress up when you go for work? And every time we talk about dressing up, we think it's all the expensive and flashy stuff, but do you just look well put together? Like you actually meant to be here, meant to be at work, that you take your work seriously enough. What is your character? What's your reputation? What's that skill? So that one job you've been given to do, have you done it well enough in a way that stands out and that makes people say, yes, he or she is doing a good job? So a lot of the time what we do is we focus more on the visibility. We're networking, we're in all of these spaces, we're at cocktails, we're at company events. But then when it comes to the actual work, it is mediocre, it is never delivered on time, it could have been much better. And so people say, look, this person is all about show and tell as opposed to the actual substance itself. So visibility, when you're asking for help, when you're volunteering yourself, when you are consistent in the work that you do, and when you are known for something. So are you known to be the person that takes a task, understands the deliverables, understands the time constraints, and delivers it within time, delivers it on time, right? In a way that then says, this person is reliable. The other thing I wanted to talk about is building a relationship with your boss or with your supervisor. So it would be great to ensure that you are having constant communication. So don't be the person that goes to the boss either to complain, which we do maybe regarding our salary, our pay, or the work environment. Your seat is not too comfortable. You don't like the space that you're sitting in. Your office doesn't have the right ventilation. But create a constant relationship where they know what you need, but you're not only going to them when you have a complaint, when you need more money, or when you've been assigned a task, so that you become part and parcel of the organization. I also wanted to talk about asking for feedback on your performance. That would be absolutely important to continue to tap in. How did I do this? What more can I do? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I need to work on? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? Because then you start to show yourself as a person that is looking for growth, that is looking to better themselves, and you are the person that then everybody wants to be around. Finally, being visible as a complement to your ability. Please be a team player. Please be the person that is so reliable in an organization that they know you are the person to go to. Be the one that is helping out in a team, is being a pivotal part of it, is making contributions, is listening as much as they are speaking, and is participating in general, particularly in team activities that have been assigned. So those are my thoughts about being seen and being heard, particularly at a time when young people and particularly women are used to being in the background and not stepping up and saying, hi, I am here. But a lot of that depends on you stepping up, on you volunteering yourself, on you asking to do more, particularly where we know that especially now, where we were in the middle of a pandemic, we're in the middle of job cuts, we're in the middle of pay cuts, where we think, well, it might just be easier to actually just go in and get what I need done, and then get home, or maybe get onto my side business. So these are the things for me that are important. I would like to wind up by saying, one of the most important things about being visible is the understanding that it takes time. That's something many of us are not willing to do. Patience. True. I'll give you an example. On television, you would do a program or a particular type of story, and you are advised that it takes up to 1 year for people to actually recognize what so-and-so is doing, or so-and-so is good at perhaps political reporting, health reporting, human interest pieces, one who's doing the economy and focusing on things to do with business. It takes up to 1 year for viewers to start to pay attention that, hey, there is something here that is special about so-and-so. And it takes up to 3, sometimes even 4 years to cement a reputation. So you want to be visible, you want to be heard, be consistent over a long period of time, and people then start to say and associate you with a particular skill, and a particular habit, and a particular reputation. So a lot of that is also about taking the time to hone your craft, be consistently good with it over time, and then you become a lot more visible than you were at the beginning. It's not going to happen in 6 months. Well, it could, social media and things like that can sometimes blow you up. But what happens is over time, consistency, people then start to realize that this is what you are known for and this is what you are associated with.
No, thank you so much, Yvonne. It's an irony that we're talking about visibility and we can't see you. We're trying to resolve, I think it's a bit of a technical hitch. But really, I just want to say a very, very special thank you to you for those insights. We have a couple of questions, so if I could just ask you to unmute, and I share with you a couple of the questions. There's been I mean, you've spoken so well on the soft things that people need to do about building relationships, about being consistent and taking time. So you had begun to talk about your own career and what you have done. So I wanted to take you back into that. What are maybe 2 or 3 things that you did right at the beginning when you started out that allowed you or made you more visible in your career? So ladies and gentlemen, that was Yvonne Okwara, as we continue to have this conversation around visibility and ability, and she captured it well, that being visible is not a substitute for your ability. You must demonstrate ability. And one of the great things a couple of the great things that she's put out is demonstrate your value in your organization. All too often we complain and we are not known for being solution oriented, or you simply do the bare minimum. So how are you coming into your organization and showing those who are in charge of you that you are capable? That you have value to deliver to the organization. I listened to a quote the other day by the CEO of Resolution Health, and you will say, when your boss pushes you, he has a boss who's pushing them. So understand where they are coming from, and engage with them in providing solutions. Do you have substance? Are you showing up looking like you want to be there? Not simply just showing up because, well, it's a job and I'm here, so here I am. But are you actually showing up and being intentional about what it is you want to do? I see a question from Lynette. Lynette, your question is, does Yvonne think as a woman in the career space, she has had to work twice as hard? That's a good question, as the men, and what are some of the challenges she has faced? So we are looking to have her log in and just to continue this conversation. So I keep urging you, let's have your questions come on, and we will share with them once she's back on and we're able to engage with her. That's a really good question, Lynette. We appreciate that we have a challenge around men and women in the workplace, and how does a lady become more visible, and is it possible? And I think that's a good thing. And once she's on, we will be able to have her just share her thoughts on that. You're also in for a treat. We have another fantastic panelist all the way from Nigeria, and she's also going just to be sharing some of these thoughts, and I want also to bring her on board and just continue to share with her the different things and thoughts that are coming through.
Sorry, Ingori, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you and even see you.
Okay, great. Did anyone hear anything I said? I hope.
Yes, we did.
I'm so sorry.
No problem, no problem. It's a new normal.
Isn't it?
Yes. So actually, I want to throw a few questions to you. Okay. There's one really good question from a lady called Lynette, and she's asking, as a woman in your career space, have you had to work twice as hard as the men? And what are some of the challenges that you have faced? And then we also have Cynthia, who's asking, how do you build a relationship with your bosses when you have very little in common with them?
All right, okay. Do you want me to answer those, or do you have any more? I can answer them all together.
Yes, then the last one was around, for someone who's starting. They're just coming into an organization. They really don't know their whereabouts. What are 2 things that you did to be visible in your organization right at the start?
Okay, all right. So let me begin with Lynette's question. Do women have to work twice as hard? Unfortunately, yes. And I think also our mistakes are amplified greater than those of men but that's still not, for me, a challenge or a roadblock. I just see it as something that spurs you on to do much better and much greater. Certainly, women are cut a lot more slack. Sorry, men are cut a lot more slack. But I think it's also a challenge to rise up to the occasion and just make sure you are as good. Make sure you dot all your I's, cross all your T's, make sure you are doing what you are supposed to be doing. Sometimes we use that as an excuse and as a crutch. And let me also say that because women do a lot more, not just within the workplace, but also within the home setting, so it ends up feeling like we are working twice as hard. A man would wake up, leave the home, know that everything has been sorted, and go to work and leave all of that behind. But to a great extent, women carry, you know, our families, we carry the world on our shoulders, we take that to the office, and we are both women, caregivers, nurturers, professionals in that setting as well. So I think that's part of what the challenges are for women in particular when they're at the workplace, particularly when it comes to their ability and what they're able to do. As for building a relationship with a boss you have nothing in common with, of course you're going to have nothing in common with your boss. It's not your friend, it's not your family. So it's not about building a relationship is not the same as building a friendship. I think we need to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
So building a relationship is saying that you are part and parcel of that organization, and you are talking with your boss about the things that have to do with work, about the things that have to do with your particular industry. What needs to happen is, let's say you're in the banking sector, for example. What are those things that you are discussing with your boss as you build a relationship? You're talking about what the latest trends are in the banking sector. You're talking about how other banks and other financial institutions are trying to cope during the pandemic. What are some of the things that they have done? Have you seen this? Have you seen that in an African bank? Have you seen this internationally? So when we talk about building a relationship, it's not about being friends, but it's about having discussions about the work. It's about showing that you care about it. It's about saying, oh, you know, I noticed we have an issue with parking. You know, I've seen, you know, in other organizations, there's things that they are doing about this, you know, for example, how to solve it. So I think there needs to be a distinction with what I said about building a relationship with your boss.
Yeah.
What are some of the two things that I did in the beginning? So number one, I learned a lot about the organization, its work culture, and how things function in that space.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, come in with an open mind, as an open book. And this is when you're starting out in your career. Sometimes you're moving from one workplace to another. So don't carry what you've known from previous to what it is here. You know, where I was, we used to do this. Where I'm from, this is what we've done. So the number one thing I think I did was to learn the organization, its culture, what matters to them, how things work, so that you understand what sort of space you're navigating in, right? And then the second thing I did was, I think what I talked about in the beginning, was I offered myself quite a bit. I'll give an example. When I started when I moved to KTN, for example, I was doing a morning show. Within 3 to 6 months, and there's a difference between offering yourself volunteering and being Kimbelembele, which is what we know. But I did go to my boss and say, you know, I know I'm doing the morning show, but listen, if you ever need somebody to do the 1 o'clock news, you know, I'm here. I mean, I know I'll have had an early morning. And I remember the first thing that happened was I was rebuffed. I was told, you know what, just focus on your morning show. Yeah. Just focus on that. Make sure you get that done right before we can even talk about anything else. However, what it did was it planted the seed in his mind. And a lot of that came much, much later, which is why I was also talking about taking your time and being consistent with things over time. So what you do is you plant the little seed there that says, hi, I'm here. I'm willing to do more. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to stretch myself in this way. I think there was something I didn't mention before, and I can talk about now. Many companies have appraisal forms. And usually at the bottom of the appraisal form, I know at least with all of the organizations I've worked in, there's always a, what training do you need? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Write those things down there. Don't think it's it's all an exercise in futility. Write it down. I mean, you know, there's many ways in which sometimes the things you write down manifest themselves in time eventually, but it's also something that you can hold your organization to and say, hi, I mean, take a look at this. I wrote this down here, and this is what I said I needed in terms of training to get me to the next level. This is also where I indicated I want to go. Now, you know, help me go there. I feel like I'm being ignored in this way, but you know, when it's not written down and you don't write it and you take that exercise not as seriously as you should, then you don't have anything to hold the organization to in terms of, I put this down, what is your commitment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I mean, one of the things I'm seeing and that keeps coming up is demonstrating your value at every stage. And it doesn't matter whether you're at the CEO level or right at the intern, you've just rocked up straight out of campus. What is your value? And engaging in that conversation. Yvonne, I really want to say a big, big thank you. There are lots and lots of questions I can see in the chat. So I want to kindly request if you could hang on a bit, engage people a bit more on the chat. I can see there are lots of questions around even media students who are asking, how do we get into that space? What do we do? So we'd love if you could continue just to engage with us on that forum.
I'm here for a while.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Much, much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing. That was the beginning. And as you can see, we have a fantastic panel, great insights, practical things that you can engage with, take on board, and build so that you're able to grow your career. A big part of why we have this program at Centonomy is to be able to help you, as Yvonne has shown, to demonstrate your value in the workplace. What are things that you can do? How do you become more presentable? How do you become more confident? And don't get overlooked. We had one interesting session where one of the employees who had been, actually one of the people who, an alumni of the program, was being asked by her boss, we have this opportunity, do you know someone? And if she did not step up, she was simply going to be a channel for that information. So she stepped up and she was able to grow in her organization. And sometimes it's just simply presenting yourself. And I love what Yvonne has said about just volunteering. And it could be 6 months down the road that the opportunity comes, but volunteer today. Say, I am available, I can do, or I am thinking, what do you see? And be solution oriented. And that's really what the Centonomy Career Hub program is looking to help you to be able to develop. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a wonderful, wonderful time. I see we are up to 218 participants. Fantastic. I know there was a question around how do we get other people to sign up. Let me encourage you, if you have colleagues who want to register, ask them to go onto our social media platforms. We're also streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. Just go onto the Centonomy social media pages and you'll be able to continue with this conversation. Now, our next presenter is all the way from Nigeria. I'm going to try to get her name right. Ivie Ibitoye. Did I get it right?
No.
I did. Please correct me.
Ibitoye. Ivie.
Ivie.
Exactly.
Fantastic, fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. All the way from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yes, no, we are really grateful that you have been able to join us.
Thank you.
And just to speak to us on this conversation.
Thank
With your
you.
permission, I want to share your profile with us, and just to bring the guys up to speed. So
Okay.
Ivie, I got it right this time? Ivie?
Yes, you did.
Fantastic. Is a recruitment and human resources management consultant. She's passionate about supporting individuals to become astute, highly sought after professionals in the marketplace and helping organizations identify and recruit top talent. She expresses her passion in her role as a founder and lead consultant of Work in Nigeria by Elite Hunters, a talent recruitment and human development consultancy with a focus on three major areas, which are recruitment, capacity building, and career branding. In the course of our work in Nigeria, Ivie has been instrumental in the recruitment of talent from junior to senior management positions, as well as contributing her quota to national development by preparing Nigeria's talent for the labor market through career development initiatives such as career coaching, career mentoring, career branding, and training. Her ultimate passion shows up in her relentless efforts to make job seekers more employable by providing them with the tools and resources that will increase each candidate's market value and improve their existing skill set. Her mantra is changing the narrative of employment and employability in Nigeria, one candidate at a time. With a wealth of experience across the energy and oil and energy, automobile, consulting, media, and communications sectors, Ivie has a sterling reputation for helping to ensure that the right talents are sourced and recruited for the clients of the company. She is committed to finding and connecting the best suited talents by following a meticulous and rigorous recruitment process. She has been featured in the print and online media, such as Business Day newspaper, Glazier magazine, The Spark by Business Day, Punch newspaper, where she has had the opportunity to share her career and personal journey with the world. Her exceptional contribution in the human capital development industry has earned her national and global recognition, as she has been listed on the Leading Ladies Power List, the Inspired by Glory Power List, and most recently, the Lord's Achievers Award for Outstanding Performance in the Corporate Industry, powered by the Lord Jeans Company. During her course of her HR career, she has successfully managed the overall provision of human resource services, policies, and programs, and has helped various organizations boost overall performance through effective HR, strategy building, fair and coherent compensation and benefits, and employee engagement. Ivie is also passionate about people development and helping passionate career professionals achieve their goals. She enjoys an opportunity to share her experiences and learnings and has had the opportunity to facilitate training sessions and serve as a guest speaker at various initiatives and events, some of which include the Delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Nigeria, the ELOY Ladies Conference, Business Women's Connect, and many, many more. Her educational background includes an LLB in law from the University of Benin and a BL from the Nigerian Law School. Ladies and gentlemen.
That was long. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's all you.
I know, right?
Yes, an absolute pleasure.
Thank
As we say in Kenya, welcome, karibu sana, and the floor is yours to share your thoughts.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate this, and good morning. I haven't had to wake up this early on a Saturday, so I'm still a bit groggy, but I'm really happy to be here. And thank you so much, Yvonne, for giving this a great start. I really love everything you spoke about, especially when you said that, visibility should definitely not replace ability. So thank you so much, everyone. It's great to be here. I think my bio says it all, and I'm just going to go right into the conversation for today. In the course of my career, working with hiring managers and working with candidates, I'll tell you a story. A company had called me and said to me, you know what, we would like to do a performance appraisal system for the company. We would like an independent consultant to come and manage the process from start to finish. So here we are, we've done all of the appraisal sessions, we've done all the documentations, and we decided to have a meeting. Just like some organizations will say, even if you've done like a documented process already, we still want a situation whereby people can deliberate and discuss. So I'm going to be using, let's say, Millicent. We can say, we wanted to discuss Millicent's appraisal, we wanted to discuss Bernard's appraisal, we wanted to discuss Matthew's appraisal. So here we are in the boardroom, and we called up Millicent's name, and we begin to hear conversations. Okay, so let's look at Millicent's form. We look at the form, And they're like, oh, okay, she scored this, she fully meets expectations, low expectations in this regard and all of that. Do we promote Millicent or not? And from nowhere, we start hearing comments. Oh, I've had lunch with Millicent. When we had a conversation, I know she told me she wanted to build a career in tax. So I think she may be struggling in capital markets because that's not really what she wants to do. We start hearing comments like, oh, but she's volunteered with me on a certain project. And I thought that she was very profound. In less than 10 minutes, the conversation that started with Millicent not being promoted changed, and Millicent got a promotion. But in that same meeting, Matthew, who seems to be the high flyer, got a lot of comments like, oh, well, he's great, but I think he needs to work on his attitude. I've seen him talking down on his subordinates. I've seen that he doesn't seem to manage his people well. Well, he seems to be great. He's intelligent, yes, but we can see that he doesn't really fit into our work culture. And all of a sudden, the decision was maybe we need to delay Matthew's promotion for another year to give him time to grow. What that entire meeting taught me was that it is very possible for you to be so great at your job, but if you do not have people who have a seat at the table speaking for you, there's only so much you can do when it comes to your career growth and success. So that made me realize how important visibility is in the workplace. You cannot for a second think that just because you come to work early, just because you meet your deadlines, it is enough for you to achieve the optimal career success that you want. If people in the workplace do not see your work, know your work, feel your work, there is only so much you can achieve. So when I began to work very closely with hiring managers and working with candidates, I began to recommend what I call the PIE model. The PIE model, P-I-E. And the first P, the P stands for performance, the I stands for image, and the E stands for exposure. Now I'm going to break this down a little bit. Now, what do we mean by P, performance? What we are saying is that regardless of how visible you want to be, if you are not performing optimally, there is going to be a problem. Because even the people who have a seat at the table, who would love to speak for you, they would not be willing to put their reputation on the line for someone who is not performing optimally. And this is why what Yvonne said at the beginning was critical, that you cannot replace visibility with ability. So you need to ensure that when it comes to performing your job responsibilities in the organization, you are performing optimally. Your performance has to speak for itself even before you get the opportunity to speak and defend yourself at the table. Now, what do we mean by image? Image simply means who do people say that you are in the company? So I gave the example of Matthew. People would say, oh, Matthew is very intelligent, but the way he speaks to his colleagues is very demeaning. People will say, oh, Matthew meets his deadlines, but he's not a team player. Who do people say you are in the workplace? We find that for you to really achieve visibility to the highest level, you need to ensure that your image is in a positive light, and you cannot leave these things to chance. You cannot afford to say, oh, I'll just be who I am. Whoever likes me, likes me. No, it's only jollof rice, Nigerian jollof rice that everybody likes, just like that. But you know what? For so long as you want to be intentional about your career, you need to be very intentional about your image in the organization. You need to work on your team relationships, your interpersonal skills, your collaborating skills. You need to work on how you manage people who work under you and manage people who are above you, because the image that you depict will invariably lead to positive visibility in the workplace. And the third is exposure. So no matter how intelligent, no matter how able you are, no matter how you're performing optimally, and no matter how you're such a great person, your image is fantastic. If you're not intentionally trying to expose yourself within the organization, the people who need to know you will never know you and will never be there to speak for you at the table. The people who need to know you to be able to recommend you for promotions, for new jobs, for projects, will never get to know you. So currently in your organization, how intentional are you about being exposed? Do you work with other departments? Do you visit other managers? Do you get your hands involved in organization activities? Someone will say, oh, I'm just an introvert. I'm just doing the work that they paid me to do. I don't want to do anything extra. But the question is, it is in so doing extra, it's in so volunteering, that's how other people will get to know you, be able to see the other side of you that even your managers or your direct line supervisors may never get to see. Now, the thing about the pie model is that they all work together. You cannot choose P over I and E. You cannot choose I over P and E. You cannot choose E over P and I. They need to work collaboratively. But when it comes to career success, there is good visibility and there is negative visibility. The question for you, Murungi, is which are you gunning for? Which are you gunning for? So there are people in the workplace today who are extremely visible for the wrong things. But there are people who are visible in the workplace for the great things. The one thing I know about people who have grown in their career is that they've been intentional and deliberate about it. They didn't just let things happen. They didn't just let things slide. So I'll tell you a story of one of my candidates. A gentleman was working in a bank. He got an offer from an international bank. And he decides that he wants to move, but he's thinking about it, and he's saying, and he says to himself that, oh, I need to go with someone who will be able to help me perform optimally on my new function. And then he begins to think, and he thinks of a guy called Jide. Why? Now the funny part is that Jide does not work in that man's department. Jide was not in that guy's department. However, right from his own department, he had spotted Jide as the go-to guy when you're trying to sell to a client. So Jide is the guy when you're going for meetings with a client. He's the one who will go with you. He will chat the client up. He's willing to take the client out for dinner. He's willing to do every single thing that he needs to get the job done. But they were not even working together. But Jide had so stood out in his own department that this man knew that if he needed to move to an international bank and to perform, he needed a Jide on his team. But imagine if Jide had stuck to just his department, if Jide had not exposed himself to other people. Because the question I asked the client was, how did you know that Jide was your guy? He said, because when they are organizing work events, Jide was the go-to guy. When they are organizing a social event, Jide was the go-to guy. When he's having lunch with his colleagues and he's asking, so how did you seal that deal? They say, we borrowed Jide. Jide was visible. So those are my thoughts on career visibility in the workplace.
Ivie, thank you so much. Fantastic insights. I'm seeing the thread that you're putting together, even with what Yvonne was sharing. Exposure. Put yourself out there.
Yes.
I want to share what Sharon Onyango is saying. Wow, Ivie, you are so bomb. Great insight.
Thank you.
Ademola, wow, Ivie, amazing insights.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ivie, fantastic. And even one is saying thank you for the model and looking forward to how to put it together. As a question to you, we have a broad group of people in our setup today. So we have those who are in university who are looking to transition into career. And then you have those who are in their career who are middle and they're trying to think, okay, how do I rise up? How would you, for somebody who's coming out, straight out of campus, you're looking to be visible as you join an organization. How do I put these things together so that I'm able to be seen as a performer, I'm able to have the right image, but also to expose myself?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So I work with a lot of young candidates, and I always tell them that things will be a bit difficult for you at the start of your career if you're not clear on what it is that you even want and what you want to achieve. So I meet a lot of young candidates and I ask, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to work in oil and gas. I want to work in journalism. As what? What do you want to do? Now, if you're not clear on what it is that you want to do, even being able to strategically position yourself for visibility will be tough. So I give an example. I meet someone who says, I just want to work in hospitality. but you're not clear on what area of hospitality you want to work in. You're not clear on what your job function would be. So when you do go for social events and people are having conversations about vacancies, about opportunities, you're not even sure if that is what fits you because you don't even know what it is that you want to do. So the first recommendation I have for the people in the university today is be very clear on what it is that you want to do. If you are not clear on what it is that you want to do, be clear that you're not clear. Because that way, when many opportunities come, you know that you can put your hands there in many opportunities because you're still not clear on your direction. Now, when you do get the opportunity to apply for a job, you must ensure that you follow the pie model. A lot of people think that the pie model only works when you're already in career, but no. So let me tell you, the way you apply for a job will show me a little bit into the kind of performance you would perform when you do get the job. It's in the little things. So how did you apply for the job? How did you send your resume? How did you interview properly? How did you send your application letter? What was in your cover letter? How was your CV written? Those things will tell me if you perform optimally or not. Number two, your image. How did you appear? How did you speak? Did you harass the recruiter? Did you harass the hiring manager? Did you come with an attitude? Your image will also say something. And then visibility is how did you end the conversation? So I've had some candidates that we interviewed straight from the university. At the end of the interview, we left refreshed. We left with the knowing that this person has a lot to offer. We really should get this person on board. So don't think that the pie model will only work when you're in career, but it works from when you start applying for a job. So I'll give you guys a great scenario, right? A lady is going on a date, King, right? And she says, I'm going on a date with this billionaire guy. And I want the guy to know that I too have my money. I want him to know that I also am independent and I have billions. What does she do? She's intentional about how she dresses. She's intentional about her makeup. She's intentional about the Gucci bag she's going to carry because she wants a situation that from when she walks into the restaurant, the guy says, wow, this girl is on my level. That is exactly what your CV does. When you look at your CV gives me a perception of who you are before I get to even interact with you. So if I see a lot of grammatical errors in your CV, it tells me you don't pay attention to detail. It tells me that you're sloppy. It tells me that you're not the kind of person I want on my team. So for me, every single thing starts with when you started your job application, how you interviewed, and then when you got the job, how intentional were you about learning? You are still young. Don't get into that zone of, I'm only going to do what they paid me to do. It doesn't pay you because you don't even know what the future holds. I am currently doing recruitment, but I studied law. I never studied HR, and I stumbled into HR. But look at me today. I run my own company. I run a 9-to-5, and I'm doing very well. But imagine if I had said, oh, they employ me to do marketing and that's all I'm going to be doing. It would never have paid me. Those are my recommendations.
And for a lot of young people who are getting into the workspace and who are also there. And it's a very tricky line. And this is what happens with social media. So it's such a huge space and many of us are visible there. But it is so important to be careful about the image that you portray on social media. So number one thing is, you know, a lot of us use all of these pen names on social media. So it's Yvonne XYZ 123. Who is that? What is your identity? What is your brand? My name is Yvonne Okwara, and you will find Yvonne Okwara on every single platform because that is who I am. That is my name, and that is how I want you to identify me. Number one. Number two. What is it you are saying on social media? A lot of us have all of these things that we like to do. There is freedom of speech, but there is also, you are talking about your character. You are talking about what you value on social media. And many of us are saying all sorts of things, trolling people, insulting others, making crude jokes. And all I have to do right now as a recruiter is go and check you up on social media.
That's it.
And that tells me everything I need to know about you. How will you perform in a team if you are the one who's always trolling everybody? And it's one thing to have a political opinion, which is great, and you want to talk about what's happening in the country. But there's a way in which you make that point known that tells me everything that I need to know about it. So yes, being on social media is free speech, but it is also very important to make sure that the person you are behind your phone and behind your keyboard is the exact same person that I meet in person. So in other words, don't type anything on social media that you cannot defend and say to someone to their face, because that is the sort of person, you don't know who you're dealing with. Your teammate players, your supervisor, your boss, all of these people have their own political inclinations, have their own thoughts and issues on so many other things. Listen, that political opinion that you have can be expressed respectfully, and also doesn't always have to be expressed in a very public forum, because you don't know who you'll be dealing with. And the same applies, by the way, if you are running your own business and your own practice. You want to be sure that all your clients who come from different backgrounds, who come from different countries, different continents, they're able to identify with who you are. So visibility, particularly on social media, is a big thing that I think many of us sort of stumble on, particularly when it comes to what we're doing at work and sort of what image we're trying to portray.
No, fantastic. Thank you, Yvonne, on that. Maybe Ivie, maybe you could also just jump in on that conversation. And I think it's a fantastic point that Yvonne has brought up. Yes. My persona on social media, I assume it's a private space, but I'm on every platform. As Yvonne was saying, I'm trolling, sharing all manner of things. And I keep wondering, how come nobody ever employs me?
Exactly.
So maybe you could speak in a bit more.
And thank you, Yvonne, for bringing that up. So even as a recruiter, one of the things we do for background checks, gone are the days where we just do like previous employer references anymore. We tend to figure out, what are you doing in social media? Why is this important? Every organization has a brand to protect. When a member of a company goes on social media to put out a comment, it's no longer Ivie putting out the comment, it is Work in Nigeria putting out the comment. So organizations are very intentional about the people who work for them and the persona that they represent outside of the company. So I agree with Yvonne 100%. You cannot afford to say, this is who I am, I just want to speak my mind. She asked for my opinions, I'm going to give it to her. You can't give it to her. Keep your opinion to yourself. So it's just like, for example, I had an interview with a candidate once, and I was asking him, like, what are the things that really irk you? And this guy goes into a full-fledged LGBT problem. I can't stand them. There, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Now, this guy could easily have said this on social media, but then you have a company who's very, very intentional about diversity, inclusion, things like that. You've already said to them that you're not their ideal candidate. I find that a lot of candidates think that all a company is looking for is what's in my brain. So they think social media is my personal space to express myself. But the truth is that it is what is in your heart you're expressing, which means that it will come out in the workplace. So you cannot afford to be sloppy on social media. And I know that a lot of people now think that when we talk of social media, they only think of Instagram, Twitter, even your LinkedIn page. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. This is not the time to have certain conversations. So somebody puts up an article that you don't agree with, and you are like, this is arrant nonsense. Who are you to say? I'm like, write your own article so that we agree with.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and my gosh, Ivie is such a fantastic speaker, and you've shared some amazing things. I think also my takeaway from what you said, Ivie, is about being intentional. Nothing happens by chance. Everything that happens in your career is something you have thought about, you have planned, you have executed, you have, foreseen. But Ivie, fantastic. Fantastic stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question that's coming up, and I want to put it to both of you. And Ivie, you began the conversation to say you studied law, but now you stumbled into HR.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a thread that's coming through in the chats. How do you figure out that transition from what I studied in school to what I end up eventually doing? Because I think people struggle and you end up being pigeonholed. How do you manifest? And maybe after Ivie, Yvonne, you could also share your experience in that transition.
Okay, so I'll be very real with you guys. I wasn't one of those people who had it covered and all figured out in uni. So I studied law because my mother insisted I studied law. And she figured that if you were a lawyer, you would get married quickly because men will be all over you. Guys, that was her goal. It was never about my passion. So I studied law unwillingly, graduated from the university. And I took the first job that was offered to me as a marketing executive in a media agency. Now, why did I do this? I've always believed that you never turn down an opportunity until you explore it. So, you know, right now, King can say to me that there's a particular Kenyan meal that is very nice. And I'm like, nah, it's not nice, but I've never tasted it. So imagine me going on and on about how that thing cannot be nice. But have I eaten it to know that it is not nice? So I always explore opportunities before I turn them down. So when I got that job, I decided, you know what, while I studied law, I'm going to take up this job as a youth corper working as a marketer. Now, while I was on that job, my boss got married in France and sponsored the entire company to France. I'm hoping that Mr. Mwenesi will do that for his staff very soon. So he sponsored us all to France for his wedding. And while I was in France, I met a Nigerian there who was a recruiter for a company. So when I got back to Nigeria, he called me one day and said, Ivie, I know you're a marketer. I need to market a product to a client. I cannot make it to Nigeria. Can you help me? So I went to help him to market his recruitment services. It was while doing this subsequently for him that I started learning the rudiments of recruitment. And then the people who have recruited for companies, when they moved, will always call me to recruit for them. That was how I stumbled into recruitment. I just saw the opportunity and I took it. Now, when I continued to do recruitment, I realized that recruitment was just a little bit of HR. So I said, you know what? I need to then move into HR fully so that I can have the full grasp of what it is that I'm doing. But when I applied, nobody was going to give me a job because I didn't have HR experience. And I'm like, how would I get the experience if nobody hires me? But then I started taking note of what hiring managers saw in resumes that gave them the go-ahead to call someone for an interview. I said, my resume does not depict anything about HR. So why would they give me a chance? Why? Is it just because I wrote proper English or just because my name is Ivie? There has to be something in the CV that will make them say, you know what, it's worth having her over for a conversation. So I got the opportunity to work as an EA to CEO of a company. I said to the man, I will gladly work for you if you would allow me to also be the HR officer of your company. The man says, well, I have nothing to lose. I don't have a HR department. Come on board. Now, to him, he was getting two roles in one person. But for me, I got the opportunity to have HR officer on my CV.
Fantastic.
The moment I did that, I learned on the job. I used Google and YouTube and training to learn how to be a HR officer.
Fantastic.
I worked there for 2 years. And then it was easy for me to subsequently get jobs in HR. And that's how I built my career. I built my career myself. Literally.
Fantastic. Yvonne, your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, amazing. So also when you are just what Ivie said about taking up an opportunity, many of us say, I'm not ready, I don't have the right qualifications. Take it even when you feel unsure.
Thank you.
Even when you feel not ready. And then now that becomes the challenge to you to get yourself ready. So read up everything that you need to do, get the skills that you require, do something online. There's lots of courses and documents you can do online. I mean, I think just being an employee in the age of the internet is super. It's fantastic. You have all of this information that's available to you that maybe some of us didn't have before Twitter and before, you know, the internet became a thing. So that's fantastic, Ivie. I mean, I think my journey was, I had two passions. I'm passionate about science and I'm passionate about media. So I studied microbiology in university, and then I left that, and maybe one day, you know, I'll practice that. But this is the thing I say, is that no training goes wasted. Yep. So sometimes you feel like you are in this career, even with what Ivie did with law, a lot of that she learned there is helping her right now with HR, recruitment. It's the lessons that you learn. What I have heard people say is a degree makes you trainable. That's what it does. It doesn't mean you have a job. A degree is not for a job. It just means you are trainable. So whatever it is you studied, you take the principles of the learnings of that and then apply that into your career. So for example, with me, all of the principles that I learned in science, which is you have a theory or a hypothesis, you test it against evidence before you present that. How helpful has that been in my career in the media, which is you come up with a theory, or there's a theory that is going around. Can you prove it? Can you test it? And then make sure that what you are presenting is something that is verified with facts. Now, a lot of that comes from my scientific background. Also, a lot of what I learned there is things that I apply here. So I'm able to do a couple of stories, interviews, and commentary, which is based on science, and that has proven so helpful now that we're in a pandemic. I understand what we're dealing with. Everything that is happening now is exactly what I studied for close to 15 years ago. So there is nothing that you ever learn that goes to waste. Education is really not about, principles of law 101 in Nigeria or in Kenya. It's about what it teaches you to do. It's taking the principles of that and then applying that in the workspace. That for me is what education is about. And so it's just all about, like we said, taking that, using it now, applying those principles, and I think that's what it is for me.
No, fantastic. That is great insights. I really appreciate both of you taking just the time to continue to engage. I'm seeing Johnston is saying wonderful insights. Anne is like, wow, fantastic. Thank you, Ivie and Yvonne, for the wonderful insights. There's a lot happening in the chat. So I really want to just ask you to continue to be with us. Guys, as you can hear, we are having fantastic conversations. And I like the thread that's coming around putting yourself out there. Take that step and take an opportunity, take that chance, put yourself out there, ask the question, and engage with whatever information you have, and believe in where you're coming from. Don't be pigeonholed is one of the things that's coming out, and really it's up to you. You can be and do anything that you want to put yourself out to do, but by seeking and taking advantage of the opportunities. It's a fantastic session. We are now at 262 participants. Thank you, guys. We continue to engage. Again, as I shared with you, you are in for a treat. We have another fantastic panelist who's joining us all the way from the US. This gentleman is called Sam. Sam, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's it going, everybody?
We are all doing well.
I'm gonna try to start my video over there.
No worries.
Oh, there I am. Good morning, everybody. It's morning where I'm at. Good afternoon where you're at.
We still have about an hour before it gets to afternoon. So we're all celebrating the morning.
I really like your style. Yes, it's 4:05 a.m. Where I'm at. So when you reached out about the opportunity to speak today, and I didn't get it initially, which I'll talk about during my presentation. But once I really got the message, I said, yeah, I'm gonna be there. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sam. So I just want to share a bit of your bio so that we can bring the guys on board, and just to give them a bit of background of who you are and then launch it back to you.
Sure.
So guys, Sam is an avid candidate, experience and personal branding content creator who was named by LinkedIn as having top editor picked content in 2019. He's been featured on the Drift blog, Inside Lexington magazine, and Indiana University Rec Sports magazine. His satirical LinkedIn post, Junior Marketing Specialist, was read over 955,000 times and made a few folks lose their coffee. I want to hear that story. While his 9-to-5 job is in healthcare marketing, his 5-to-9 is resume rebuilds. He loves helping people tell their story, articulate their accomplishments, and land their new career adventure. Over to you, Sam.
I appreciate it, sir. That sums it up quite well with kind of what I'm all about. I'm gonna share a quick PowerPoint here to kind of guide people along, and hopefully everybody can see that. No problem. Again, thank you so much for having me. For those, I'm actually assuming most people on here have no idea who I am. So just a quick snippet to add on. My day job, my 9-to-5 is in healthcare marketing. But what I would call kind of my 5 to 9 is in resume rebuild. So I've been spending a lot of time with candidates, kind of helping them tell their story, helping them along their career journey and kind of find that next career adventure, if you will. So we're going to touch on a little bit of personal branding and things of, trends that I'm seeing in the candidate experience over here. So if everybody can see that okay. What you see here is, I'd like to take you back just a few years ago. I was sitting in a cafe and reading a book about how Google kind of does their people operations or people ops. So it was the end of the day. I was really tired, and I see this kind of graph on the differences between how Google hires and how most other companies hire. And I thought it was interesting. I almost didn't post it at all, but there's something about that it kind of grabbed me. So I did post it. I tagged the author, and it ended up blowing up, being one of the most successful posts at the time. And that kind of brings me to my first point, talking about personal branding, is document your journey. So I would say it's not so much about being fancy. It's about showing your wins, but also your lessons. I always say, like, you make a mistake, or you're trying something out in business, you're always learning something, right? So this was just something that I wanted to show, because I also, like when I was in high school or at university, let's be honest, I didn't like to read it all. Some of the books that I was given, I was like, I kind of like to, want to spend time with my friends instead, But when you find a topic that really reaches out and grabs you, that's interesting, then reading becomes fun. The second thing I would say, kind of for personal branding here, is I'll just use LinkedIn as an example. There are hundreds of millions of people on that platform, but about less than 1% of those people actually post with any type of consistency. So there's a huge opportunity there, going with our theme here today, with visibility being seen, being heard, that there's white space there. It's not so much about creating a viral post and now you have all these eyeballs on you, and that's going to lead to this next huge opportunity. It's you consistently post those small wins and lessons, and now you have much more visibility. And this is one other theme I would say, is this is an opportunity for growth. It's not just networking, it's an opportunity finder. One of the ways that my resume rebuild side hustle came about was just posting regularly on LinkedIn. I'll talk a little bit more later about the candidate experience, but I find I had a knack for, articulating people's accomplishments on paper, and that turned into a full-blown side hustle. There's some amazing presenters and speakers before that I think that also hit on the point that you must do this publicly. You must engage with others. So when I put up this post, a page from a book, and people start engaging, that's a great opportunity then to engage with other professionals who could turn into be your future coworkers, your future boss, a future client. Plenty of opportunities there. Next thing on personal branding, I would say, one thing that's really important to me, and I think that's important for others, or should be important for others as well, is to help people. What you're seeing on your screen right now is a post I put up on LinkedIn where there was a local company, WeWork, and they had this massive layoff. So the post I put up about that situation was basically, hey, if you need a warm intro, let me know. If you need help with your professional materials, let me know. You got this. You're going to find your new opportunity. And I've found that it's not just about a resume. It's not just about your social media profile. When I'm trying to develop my own personal brand, I want it to be one common theme I want that to kind of have is about helping people. That's that's not just an opinion of mine, that's my position. I think it's the most powerful position. You know, if you're in a spot where you can help someone find a new job, kind of find their calling, find their passion, because, you know, something that may be a small favor to you, whether that's, you know, an intro to someone in your network or doing a free profile review, that may seem small to you, that may be life-changing to them. So you see that here, and, you know, you see the engagement. Also understand that, you know, when you're helping someone, if, you know, if someone's lost their job and they're going through a painful experience, you can imagine that other people are probably going through that same experience, even if they haven't posted that publicly. I've got a couple different direct messages that talk about, hey, you know, I was in a really rough spot. I was in kind of a dark place. You know, I lost my job. I was really down and depressed. And, you know, you put up a message about positivity, or you helped me with my resume, or, you know, you did something else that, you know, you put up a quote, just some kind of little shard of light that you gave them. You give someone hope, and that can snowball in a good way over there. So definitely helping people is a good thread. One other thing I would add there is, you know, I do resume rebuilds as a side hustle. You know, I'm helping people tell their story with their personal brand. But there will be a point, probably not too far in the future, where resumes could not even exist. It's just going to be about what's your personal brand. And if you're going out for a job and someone wants to see, you know, what's your accomplishments, what's your experience, you know, who's part of your network, they're just going to bring up a live digital profile. And now, where a resume is kind of this snapshot in time of some companies you've worked for in your education, now they can see your entire history instantly, of all, you know, everything you've talked about, in kind of that whole entire thread. So definitely it's worth investing the time and the energy and the effort now to build that personal brand and gain some visibility. And also offer you some, in a way, some insurance, which I'll talk about a little bit later too. But with all these serious things going on, the third point I'd say is don't forget to have some fun too, right? Like, we're all investing so many hours. The king knows what I'm talking about over there. I mean, average job, if you're in a corporation or a nonprofit, I think the common statistic is you're investing about 2,080 hours. That's a lot of time to be, you know, really, really serious. You're working with fellow humans. You're not working with robots, right? So have a little bit of fun with that, and you can include that in your personal brand. This little picture here, this is the top of my LinkedIn profile. But if you notice something there, that little lightning bolt, that's, or excuse me, right next to the lightning bolt, the speaker, that's a brand new feature they launched where you can actually record your voice pronouncing your name. So that's an opportunity where you can have fun, and instead of just saying your name, like you say Sam Frymer, you can have fun with it with this little 10-minute shot. And I was going to try to play the live clip, but just in case like it would mess up, I'll just try to do a live rendition for you guys. So instead of just saying Sam Frymer, my audio clip went something like this. Thank you so much for stopping by, LinkedIn visitor. My name is Sam, like Sam I am, Frymer, like French fries. And that was like a good, like, you know, fun thing. But I received a message earlier this week from a father. He said, hey, I saw you had, a post that got a lot of attention. But the real reason I'm reaching out is I just randomly stumbled on your profile. I found this little audio clip. I started playing it, and my really young daughter just loves the clip. It's just, it's a funny thing. And when he said that, that's something I never ever would have thought of. Like I no intention of entertaining this audience, But I think there's a great lesson there, besides having fun, is you don't actually know who's going to randomly stumble on your profile. And I think that's another reason why when you start doing things today, they may not pay dividends immediately, but when you put up these small hits and you have fun and your brand starts building, then when a stranger visits your profile, now they can see something interesting there. So get going today, have fun with it. It's something, I don't know, to me, I just always think, like, whether you're in an office, you're grabbing coffee with somebody, you're checking out their LinkedIn profile, it's okay to include some personality there, right? And you can test all the different channels. Maybe this is text here or audio. You can put up a fun video. Podcasts are gaining a lot of momentum, because while you're working out, or while you're driving, while you're doing yard work, you can have that playing in the background. So yeah, I mean, those are a couple of the tips. I put them on. You don't have to write anything down in this presentation. I tried to put up a couple key points here. Document your journey. Don't overthink it. It's much more about being transparent. It's much more about showing, like, what you're actually doing. I think now people online and with this vast digital space, people are so good about finding someone that has some bought some fake followers. They'll see right through that. So you have to show proof. You have to show evidence that, hey, this is what you're working on. And again, it doesn't have to be fancy, but you do have to post it publicly. You gotta put yourself out there. I think one of the biggest dream killers, at least that I've seen in my time, and that other people have come to me with, is when I'm looking at a resume or a LinkedIn profile or another social media profile, people are kind of waiting for perfection, or waiting for that perfect moment to get their message out there, or get their brand out there, or to reach out to the future company or hiring manager. My 2 cents would be that perfect kind of moment doesn't exist. Just get started today. Take a picture, put up some text of a topic you're passionate about, and get it out there. When you help people, like I mentioned before, I think that's the most powerful position. And you're solving for their pain. It's not so much, hey, what's going on, in Sammy Frymer's world. It's here's a challenge that they're encountering, and there's a clear path past that challenge. And if you can help them along their way, and kind of solve for their pain points, that definitely goes a long way. And like I said before, we're laughing already on the call today. Let that personality up. It's not like it's even. I mean, a resume tend to be really serious. But even on your resume, one trend that I've been seeing is when you have kind of like or sometimes I'm way over the pond over here. It may be called a CV in the rest of the world. But the point is that when you're telling your story and you put up a headline, that can have a little bit of personality in it. It doesn't just have to be like your official job title. Like, it doesn't have to be sales manager at XYZ Corp, marketing director at ABC company. It can be, you're a marketing leader, you're an engineering leader, and then also you're a world traveler, or also, you're a professional chef, or you moonlight, as a chef, or you're an artist. But either way, that little snippet, when the first time a hiring manager or recruiter or someone stumbles upon a social media profile, that may be what they remember you as, because you put your little piece of your own personality. So even if there's a job where there's thousands of applicants, you know, the fact that you put, you know, you do karate, or you do, you know, you have this kind of unique hobby. Maybe that hiring manager did the same thing, you know, when they were growing up. You know, I used to collect sports cards when I was a kid. I got my start when, you know, we're talking about all this branding and, you know, and writing and putting yourself out there. I got my start on a platform. I always can tell the audiences if they recognize this reference. But there used to be a company, America Online, that had instant messenger, which is little before everybody had these crazy text messages and everybody had a phone. Before any of that, all you had is like your computer, and you know, you type up your little on AIM, or you know, AOL Instant Messenger. You type the message to your buddy or your friend or your family member, and then when you're away from your computer, you would have this thing called the away message. And I always just had fun kind of maxing out those character limits, just stuffing as much stuff as I could in there. And that was kind of my start of personal branding, or just having fun with a piece of technology. Some of my friends would love razzing me and say, Sam, you know, if you're just, there you go. Sam, if you're out to lunch, you don't need to put, you know, you don't need to write this novel. Just say, you know, out to lunch. And I say, like, guys, it doesn't. I'm like, guys, that's not that exciting to me. I want, you know, I want to tell a little story there. So that was kind of the start. So those are things with personal branding. I mean, the people that are watching the Zoom call today or on Facebook Live, you know, you're either you're a leader today, or you're also a future leader that's going to be responsible, you know, for, you know, sitting on the other side of the table, so to speak. And I'd like to talk a little bit about candidate experience and really, you know, why I think that's important. When you're a leader and you're not only in charge of your own personal brand, you're also in charge of your company's brand, and you're trying to win this war on talent. So there's a couple things here, and one trend I've been seeing doing resumes, you know, helping people find jobs, is a lot of times they encounter these crazy job posts. I'm sure a lot of people can relate over here. You're looking for an entry-level role, and instead of just seeing, you know, hey, we need these couple skills to really be successful, you see this laundry list of requirements, and sometimes it gets a little crazy. And don't if you see one of those job postings, don't think like, oh man, I'm so behind. I don't have 20 years of experience using this piece of software or working in this space. A lot of these, look, be completely frank, a lot of those job descriptions are kind of a patchwork of what that recruiter saw on another company's site, and then they just basically stitched it all together. So what happens is you have this description of requirements that it doesn't show a real person. It shows, we like to use the term a purple squirrel. You know, it's just something you don't, the person does not exist. They're alien from another planet. This is what you're seeing there is the most successful post I've had, where I tried to going with our fun theme. I tried to poke fun at some of these crazy job listings. You see, as you start reading, you know, it's obviously not real. You know, it's a satirical post. But I think if you're a leader today, you're a hiring manager, and you want the best people on your team, and you want your company to grow and be profitable. The first thing I would say is hire for attitude. Don't worry and train for skill. Don't worry about trying to list every single last possible skill set. Find someone that's hungry, find someone that's ambitious, and find someone that's teachable. And I think when you have those elements, you can teach them the rest. You can teach them about your industry. I think when someone says or someone asks a question, hey, are you from this industry? Industry to me just means kind of like the lingo that you use and the competitors in that space. That's all. That doesn't take that doesn't take a decade to learn, right? Once you know the kind of some of the lingo and the competitors, you're from the industry. And I think what happened is, for a long time, people kind of got really protective, and they thought, well, I only want to hire somebody that's been, working in this technology space or this education space, there's energy space, for years, and that was their way of really saying, hey, it's I only want a little slice of people. But what they're missing is all the people that have the potential to be the best person on their team. Because it's not necessarily about, you're from that exact industry. It's about staying curious, and really, constantly learning. What the other thing I was going to mention about this is when Wendy reached out, I actually, and this is important for when you do see a role you really like and you're speaking directly to the hiring manager or recruiter, I'm embarrassed to admit this. I actually misread the LinkedIn message twice, not once, but twice. Talking about getting on a webinar, I was having a bad day. I was busy. Sometimes when your inbox gets a little crazy, and it's and you're clicking fast. It's the end of the day. I was tired. I was like, man, I'm not sure. So when that happens, you kind of just skim over there. I actually misread it. And thank God when tenacious and followed up, because when I really actually went through it thoroughly, I got it. So don't be discouraged. If you reach out and someone doesn't respond right away, it's a skill. It's a quality about being tenacious. Don't let that dissuade you. There's plenty of documented stories about really famous people that it wasn't their first or second or third try, it was their 17th, or they were rejected 500 times, and then on 501st, lightning struck, and that they got the idea for a new company, and so that's certainly a theme. If you don't, you're trying to go for a new position and you're fresh out of school, and you're trying to get into this new role. One other a trend I've been seeing as well is just kind of show stuff you've built. So if you're right out of school and you don't have years of experience, that's okay. Show a technical project you did in your own time. Show a community that you've got together. I've done my little LinkedIn community, which is growing. That just started out. It was me, and I sent a connection request to probably a couple of my friends, and that was my entire community. And just show a side hustle, something you've been working on. It doesn't have to be a very official looking corporate role. Show volunteering experience that you've worked on. Show some things about your passions. Those are the things potentially people could really remember you by over there. So another thing about candidate experience that I've been trying to coach more people on, because especially in rough times, there are unfortunately some bad actors that might take advantage of candidates, is value your time first. So this is a post I put up about how you're interviewing, and a company asks you to do a test project, and then all of a sudden you do this, you invest all this time, you do this test project, and what happens? You never hear from them again. You get ghosted, right? It's happened to me before. When I'm sure King knows. I'm sure, with the 247 people right now, I'm sure there's more than a couple of people that, you did a bunch of work and you don't hear back, right? And it hurts. I would say interviewings are a lot like dating, right? And if you're treated poorly, then you did all this work to research the company and do this text project or put together a plan, and then you don't hear anything. If that's the company culture, imagine what it's like when you actually work there, when you've signed on the bottom line, so to speak, and you're working there. That to me would be a red flag. So I think you need to value your time first. And there are parts early in my career where I didn't have a regular job. I was, doing side hustles. I was doing consulting work. That picture that I showed earlier from a cafe, that's when I didn't have a regular job. I was trying to learn and constantly grow. And it's especially hard when you really, really want a job. Like you're like, man, this is my dream role, my dream company. But you can't get stepped on. If they're not going to value your time, you need to go to a place that does value your time and your contribution. Because when you find that company and you find a boss that believes in you, they're going to invest in you. And when it's the opposite scenario, it's bad things will happen. You won't be as much appreciated. And while you may be excited then to get the job, once the kind of honeymoon phase is over, and you're there and you're going, man, I almost want to go find a new job, right? But come with confidence there. Even and I used to think this was a fake thing, but it's really just playing the game. Even if you don't feel confident, when you walk onto that phone conversation or virtual meeting or live meeting, be confident. Look back at all your accomplishments. Have a little pep talk with your family or friends, and go, because I think hiring managers get really get that. And also when you're on the other side of the table, and you have people investing all this time and they're so excited about working for your company, make sure you give them some feedback. And I totally get it. And recruiters and talent acquisition folks have told me, like, hey, Sam, I've got hundreds or thousands of applications. I can't respond. There's not enough time in the day to respond individually to every single one. And that's fine. However, if you're in that role, in that kind of position, the people that did interview, at least take 5 minutes, each one of them a personal note. Say, hey, thanks so much. Here's what I like. Here's maybe our areas of concern, but give them some feedback. Because when I was a candidate, and I didn't get the job, the first question that would run through Sammy Frymer's mind is, I thought I did pretty good. I did my homework. I nailed all those questions, yet I still didn't get the job. Why is that? And maybe it had nothing to do with you at all. Maybe they had an internal candidate that was kind of the front runner that they went with. But I'll tell you this to everybody on the call today. I can remember very clearly all those companies that actually did take the time, even when I didn't get the role, to give me feedback, and that helps their brand, because they did a little bit more for the candidate experience where other candidates weren't. Look, we're all in this together. If you really need a test project, you give someone a few dollars for their time. But I would say to all the candidates out there, if it's going to be 8, 16, 24 hours worth of work, for the potential not even to hear anything back, and then go see them to use their plan, and you're going, oh wait, I should be paid for that. You won't be paid for the interview, but for test projects, I think that's going to be a new best practice.
No,
there.
fantastic, Sam. Really, it's great just listening to you. The smile, the laughs. It's like we're kindred spirits.
I feel good vibe. I feel good vibes over here through the time. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. I only got a couple more slides, and I was going to take some questions.
Actually, what we can do, we can give you 5 more minutes, and then we can also have you towards the end. We can have you just hang on the call, and then we can continue the conversation.
That's perfect. That's
excellent.
Perfect.
Excellent.
So the last thing I would say for candidate experience is memories are long, and they're longer than they can be longer than a job role or multiple roles. They're going to be longer than a pandemic, and people. And kind of similar to what we were talking before about, really wanting to help people. I can still remember today in a lot of detail, people that helped me 20 plus years ago. Like if you're hurting and you really need a job, like, you're trying to provide for yourself and your family, especially when you're hurting, but even when it's not a dire situation, the memories I've found and I've seen tend to be very, very long. So when you go out of your way to help somebody find a job, or provide valuable feedback while they're a candidate, that goes a long ways. And I think I touched on this a little bit before, but it may just be a warm introduction you make on LinkedIn or Facebook or via email or a live meeting. Those things that may just seem like they take a minute and they're really not that big a deal. That could be life changing for someone else, because if that gets them that new job, or that gets somebody more visibility that they need to grow their business and grow their career, just grow themselves, that can make all the difference in the world. And unfortunately, the reverse is also true. I mean, hey, again, I'm ashamed to admit it, but like, hey, if there's some bad actors there early in my career, I'm like, man, I'm not doing them any favors. And you don't want to like go down that path and like have be negative. You want to stay positive. Optimism is very important to me. But in the candidate experience or just in life, making sure you do someone a solid and give them a help out is really impactful. And you really want to, I would say, stay curious. The best job insurance you could ever have is constantly keeping your skill set sharp, constantly reaching out to people in your community, because then if you ever fall in hard times, people know you, people know that you're proactive, people know that you take action, people know that you deliver results. So those are the type of players that they want on their team. But I would get, if I could leave like a nugget advice, I would say, make sure that's something you're constantly doing, and it builds over time. And like I said, memories are long, and you're always one connection or kind of relationship away from an opportunity that can completely change your life. I put up a kid picture, maybe just for two reasons. One is I thought I was cool and I wasn't. And the second is like, even way back when, people that were that provide me great career advice or great life advice, all these years later I still remember that. So make sure when people apply to your company, you treat them right. Make sure when you're a candidate, you're constantly, or even when you're employed, you're constantly kind of growing that toolkit. So, like I said, you don't have to you don't have to write anything down over here. Hire for attitude, train for skill. You got to make sure, even before anybody else does, that you value your time, you protect it. Everybody in this group has the same 24 hours, and make sure you want to invest that wisely. Careers along, I'm doing something different than I studied in college. I think there's a couple points earlier that are talking about how you can make these transitions. I got into resume rebuilds by accident. It's not something I didn't have a plan for it. It was something that I found I had a knack for. For people, helping people move from responsibilities, which is like a list of things you do on a job, to accomplishments, what you actually delivered. And I could kind of draw that out for conversations, and then help people put it on paper. And it's something that it's a side hustle that I've grown. But over the course of her career, you can have multiple side hustles, you can have multiple transitions. Don't let it's not so much a block, but it's kind of keep your eyes open, keep your horizons open.
Fantastic.
To those conversations, and all kind of, it sounds cliche, like always follow your passions. But it's true. If you're going to be spending thousands of hours, make sure it's something that you are passionate about.
For sure.
So for that, I'll say thanks for Harry and King for having me. And if there are any questions, great. I'll field them the best I can.
No, excellent, Sam. Really appreciate your time. I know it's really early for you on that end. Much appreciated. It's been just great just listening to you and seeing the linkage and the things that the previous speakers were speaking to are the same things that you're also coming back to. Putting your personality in what you're doing. I love the bow tie. I thought that's just brilliant.
It was the first time I ever tied. It wasn't a clip-on that time, so I was so proud of it.
That was absolutely fantastic. I'm seeing guys are so excited. We're just getting a lot of LinkedIn posts just going through the chat. So my request to you, Sam, if you could still hang around with us just for a few, interact with guys on the chat, and then we'll come back to you, maybe field one or two questions towards the end.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Excellent. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sam. He's with us all the way from the US. And really one of the things I love is his personality just comes right through. And if you saw the same with Ivie, with Yvonne, when you know yourself, you're able to put that out as part of your personal brand. And that puts us in a perfect position to listen to the next speaker. Is a gentleman who I have I interact with a fair bit, and who is a great pleasure to be around. This gentleman needs a little introduction. He is Mwenesi Musalia. He's an image consultant. He's a soft skills coach. And importantly, he's a lead trainer on this program, the Centonomy Career Hub. Mr. Mwenesi, karibu sana. Over to you just to share your insights with us, and also just take us through the program and the highlights of the program.
Listening to everybody, wow, I mean, I could continue drinking from this fountain of wisdom for the rest of my life, honestly. But I mean, we've only got this brief period, and it's been incredible listening to everybody from Yvonne and Ivie. I mean, I related so much with Ivie's story, especially the fact that she was a lawyer, like some of us fake lawyers who decided to branch off into our own things. But the reasons why we studied law and why we are doing what we're doing now is because of everything that we're discussing now. So when I saw the title of this discussion, be seen and be heard. I mean, it speaks to everything that I believe in, everything that I care about, which is personal branding. And as I don't know, as I wait for, I think the host is trying to get my video going, because I really do want to be seen, because that's what this discussion is about. I asked myself, why is visibility more important Is it more important in your career, and does it help or hinder what it is that you're about? There we go. Joy. The simple fact is that if you're not seen and heard, especially in this day and age of technology, then you don't exist. I use this example a lot in our trainings at the Career Hub, and I ask people, you know, the last place that I went to eat before I came here, whether it was a Java restaurant or whatever restaurant it was, I always ask the team, you know, if I told you that the lady who was behind the counter, let's call her Ivie, all right, not this Ivie, let's call her Ivie at the restaurant. If I tell you about Ivie at the restaurant, and she is, you know, I tell you that she was magnificent, she was kind, she was warm, she was fantastic. I mean, only I know how fantastic and warm Ivie was. But until that point that I tell you about Ivie, as far as you guys are concerned, Ivie doesn't exist, right? But she's a real person doing real things, adding real value. But as far as you guys are concerned, she doesn't exist because you haven't interacted with her in your mind. And that's the point, I think, for me, why being visible and being heard is so important, especially if you want to climb the career ladder, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're self-employed, whatever the case. If you've got some value that you're exchanging and people don't know what that value is about, I mean, you might as well do it in your bedroom. I listened to this one documentary by 50 Cent, the rapper, and he says, you know, I could make music for myself and really enjoy it, but if I'm playing it in my headphones in my bedroom, it doesn't matter because no one cares about that music. So if you're not seen and heard, you don't exist. The other side of the coin is the more people see and hear you, they believe that you are better than the ones that they don't see and hear, and it creates this mental and emotional relationship. And the mental and emotional relationship is the reason why people make decisions. It's why people develop trust. I can tell you, you know, give you a lot of facts about how I'm the best image consultant. I am the best communication strategist. I have all these years of experience. I have this qualification. I went to this school and all of this fantastic stuff. But if I can't create that mental and emotional connection with you to be able to have that visibility in your mind, because it's not just what I'm seeing and hearing physically with my eyes and my ears, it's what's left in my mind. It's what's left in my mind. If my mind does not have this mental connection, if my heart does not have this emotional connection with you, and I love how speaker after speaker has spoken about it's important to tell your story. Just listening to Sam saying how important it is to tell your story and add some personality. That's what people connect with. Because then whatever skill you have, whatever talent you have, that's just the icing on the cake, you know? Whether it's a consequence of our education system, I guess we've been really pushed to be very technical and really have, you know, our technical attributes come forward first. And then we tell our story later. You know, we go into these interviews and we talk about, you know, I went to this school, I did this, I have this, but you don't tell your story. You're not trying to create any mental or emotional connection with the person on the other side of the interview table or the client or whoever it is that you're trying to get validation from. So telling your story, we're human beings. And I want to think, as I was thinking about this talk today, I thought about 5 steps that I myself use, but these are not the complete steps that you will find in our Career Hub personal branding program, but it's just my personal steps as far as this particular discussion is concerned. So we'll break it down into 5 steps, right? So the first step is, who are you? All right, people will not react. We're people. We're not inanimate objects. We don't react with glasses or chairs or keys. We are people. People react with people. So people want to know, who are you? What's your vibe? What's your deal? You know, people always ask you, what's your deal? All right, and who you are has to do with your strengths. Do you even know what your strengths are? Do you know what you're good at? The reason why people like myself and Ivie have branched off, and pretty much everybody here, including Yvonne and Sam, have branched off to doing and benefiting and having a career in things that we didn't study, is because it wasn't who we were. Our personality didn't match what we studied. Maybe our skill set or our talents or our strengths did not match who we are. So you have to keep it 100% real with who you are. Own your madness. I like to say own your madness, you know, because you are who you are. You are unique. You're an individual. I am different from King. King is different from David, Wendy, and Sam. These are all different people. But everybody, you got that thing, you have a thing inside you, and you need to absolutely be so clear with that. Whether you're looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning or asking people, you know, hey, tell me about myself, you need to be in touch with yourself. And you can't depend on other people to tell you who you are, all right? You got to know who you are first. Once you know who you are, it's super vital to know what it is that you care about. What do you care about? What do you give a damn about? What wakes you up in the morning? Because that's your engine, right? When I mean, you know, as much as Yvonne was in the sciences, now you could tell there's this bug, this need to be able to tell a story and communicate. So the journalism bug grabs you. And if you care about something enough, honestly, you can create value from it. Myself, because of, you know, everybody, including my family and friends and whatever, they ask me, Mwenesi, why is it you're always dressing like you're going for a wedding? Why? You always seem to be concentrating on, you know, I mean, it's a barbecue. Why are you wearing, you know, why are you dressed in a suit? What's going on? You know? And I say, that's what I care about. That's my stuff. That's my deal. All right. But when I realized that people start treating me differently because of that, and because I care about it so much, guys start coming to me and they're like, hey, so Mwenesi, like, I know all these people are on your case for dressing in a suit, but yo, I have a wedding to attend. So do you mind taking me shopping? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take you shopping, ain't no thing, you know, but you put some money on the table and I'll go, you know, we'll go do a personal shopping for you. And that's how I ended up becoming an image consultant. Not because this is what I studied, not because this is what I had extreme training in. It's simply because I cared about this stuff so much. I myself started looking it up. I was a subscriber to GQ and all of these fashion men's style magazines. I started paying attention, hanging out with designers and whatever, simply because I cared about it. Not because someone told me, yo, you need to go to school to do this and that. It's what I care about. So you need to look inside yourself, guys. What is it that you care about? Because that's the thing that will feed you, believe it or not, okay? The third aspect is why. Why do you care about this thing? And it's very closely linked to that second point. Your why. I mean, there's so many renowned personalities. I remember, you know, reading Simon Sinek's Start with a Why. And not just that, but your why is your reason for existing. You know, if you don't know why you're on this earth, you know, this author, the guy who wrote the Jungle Book, he says, Rudyard Kipling, he says the two most important days in a man's life is the day that he is born and the day that he figures out why. Your why is everything, and that's what makes your personal brand or your visibility be memorable. That mental and emotional connection, people connect with your why rather than the other stuff. Maya Angelou, again, keep saying, I don't care about what people do. People don't care about what you do. They always remember how you make them feel. All right. And the feeling comes from the why. So know your why. It will help you be authentic. People buy into that authenticity. If you can't, the one person you can't BS is yourself. I've tried lying to myself and, you know, yeah, you know, Mwenesi, I think we should go do a deal for, you know, spare parts from Dubai. You know, I think we should get into this fish farming business. You know, I think it's also going to be a good idea if you get, you know, used clothes from Uganda. Like, no, hey, bruh, that ain't me. Like, I know who I am. I'm a guy. I like talking. I like clothes. I like nice things, mushaino. I like luxury things. Let me just stick to my lane because that's my why. That is it. And that is what people buy into. That is what people now start to that's the energy that radiates from me. So after you figured out your why, the fourth aspect for me is know who you are for. Because sweet dear God, you won't be for everyone. Guy, imagine you won't be for everyone. We're here. We're about 200 and something odd people, 240, 250 people on this call. There are going to be some people who'll be looking at me like, yo, bro, just it's okay. I'm cool with that. But there'll be others who'll be like, damn, that's my stuff. I'm all about the second group. All right. If you're in the first one, it's okay. All right, it's fine. And that's how life is. Even in your workplace, with your clients, with your customers, there will be people who are for you, and there'll be people who will be like, nah, it's neither here nor there. Focus your energy, in my opinion, focus your energy and get the profiles of the people who are like, okay, we love your stuff, and look for more of those people. I assure you, we're 8 billion of us on this planet. There are enough people out here who you are for. Just make sure, to this last point, point number 5, that those people understand that you exist and you tell your story to those people. We're creatures, we believe in stories. We're not the one thing about human beings. I've been referencing a lot of books, goodness. I mean, I could go on and on about the books and whatever, but I will make this last reference to this book. It had such an impact in my life. It's called Sapien by Yuval Noah Harari. And he says, what separates us from other creatures is the fact that we respond to stories. The mental and emotional connection matters more than facts and statistics. That's why logic and reality and logic and facts, half the time people will discard that because they're so attracted to the story. The story is going to be more real sometimes than the facts and the statistics. As much as science and facts and data are important to confirm the story, for us human beings, the story matters first, right? The story is what counts. And you know, when you think about everything, I mean, he makes reference to the fact that our country, Kenya, right now is a story, all right? When you break it down into its basic levels, it's a story. It has I mean, I'm here, you know, living my best patriotic life, you know, with my Kenyan proudly Najivunia. I'm like out here like, yeah, I'm a Kenyan. But this is a story, right? The country Kenya is a story. Money is a story. Mwenesi is a story. So the world belongs to the people who tell their stories the best. And if you can tell your story enough to create that mental and emotional relationship, you will build a brand, and that brand is what you can use to help you get ahead, because people can start making decisions about you. You don't even necessarily need to be there. The more you tell your story, you start to appear like, it creates a picture. When I read a book and I read this story about this, whatever, I start to visualize it. When I start telling you about Ivie in Java, you can already start to imagine the lady behind the counter. What's her complexion? How tall is she? What does she look like? What is she doing? What is she wearing? There's already this idea in your head where you start to think about it. And let me tell you something, guys. People make decisions about you based on the stuff that's going on in their head. And that's why they ask you to come in for interviews, because when you're sitting over there, they're trying to relate what they're seeing with what they've read in your CV with what is going on in their head. So they're like, I'm just bringing you in so that I can either confirm or deny what I'm already thinking about you. Because that decision has already been made. It needs to be tweaked a little bit. And when you are deliberate about telling your story, Sam is about telling his story on LinkedIn, like Ivie is, like Yvonne is, like I am. Once you are deliberate about telling your story and making sure that you tell your story to the people that matter, that's it. You are golden. The flip side of that is you will be overlooked, disempowered, and taken for granted. And it has happened countless times. We've been doing Career Hub now for 6 years. The stories that I hear, especially now, I mean, we're in a Corona time where people are being laid off and it's crazy. But people get laid off and you wonder, why is this person still not even being laid off, but they're getting promoted? And I know that their work is not as good as mine, but for some reason, they're still there. And you hear it and you go and interrogate senior management, and it's some of them will tell you to your face like, yo, I know this person. I know what they're about. You could be doing amazing work, but I don't know. I don't know what you're bringing to the table because I haven't seen and I haven't heard it. I don't have a relationship with it. So tell your story, guys. Understand who you are. What do you care about? That is so important. Why do you care about that stuff? Who are you for? Because you won't be for everybody. There'll be a group for you and a group against you. Concentrate on who you are for and you'll be golden. And especially for your social capital, because the people who you are for will also be like your brand ambassadors. I mean, even Jesus had disciples. Who are you to not have a squad? You know, have a squad. You need to have a squad. You need to have a group who's like either playing offense or defense for you. Whether it's in the office, whether it's out here, whatever, you need a team, all right? And you need to make sure that that team understands your story and can go spread your gospel, go talk about it. And that way you will find that you will not just be insulated from the nonsense of the layoffs and the lack of work, but you will actually progress and flourish in your career.
No, thank you. Thank you, Mwenesi. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the fantastic stuff that has been shared. Great insights. I am conscious of time, but I want to ask if you could just give us a few more minutes we're just about to wind up. And I want to throw it back to you, Mwenesi. You've spoken very passionately about this topic. So I want you also, as the lead trainer, to take us through what the key components of the program are, and then we'll be able now to hear from Naomi after that to tell us, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. And she will just she will get into just sharing her experience. So let me share with you the slide, and just for you to take us through what are the different things we'll be undertaking in the course.
All right, super. So this course, I mean, it's a labor of love between myself and Washeke and the entire Centonomy group, and Wendy and everybody. King, you've been involved in this yourself. We've been doing this now for about 5-6 years. It's fantastic. I think hundreds, if not thousands, of people have passed through this, and the stories, the testimonies that you get back about how people are just progressing and living their best life is ridiculous. It's unlike any other kind of course that you'll come about, because it's based on practical things that you need to do. So it's not like, yo, go read this book or do this thing. It's literally the minute you walk out of that class, you start doing those things, whether it's how you make your eye contact, how you put on your makeup, what it is that you're doing, how to handle that difficult boss, how to make a connection with your client, how to get that vavavoom, that energy inside you. I mean, it's really practical stuff. I would say about 70% of this stuff is practical. The rest of it is just some stuff and exercises that you got to do. And all of it is based on real life experiences. So module number 1, this is a 7-week module. This is a 7-week course. It's nice, it's punchy, it's to the point. I think we have a class on Thursdays and we have a class on Saturdays as well. So if you have a choice of being able to do that, obviously because of COVID, we got to do it online, so no worries. But the first module is about making boss moves. There's a certain way that bosses think that separates them from the rest, all right? And we're so deliberate about using the word boss because I know already I can feel people who are like, oh, why are you calling it boss moves? Why not leadership? Why not? Nah, you have to, it's literally a paradigm shift. And in this class, we really try and go into depth to unlearn and rewire a couple of the myths that we've been told, to really get yourself thinking differently. Think of yourself as a general, not a soldier, because those two people, while they are similar, their thinking is different, their perspective is different, and that's what this is about. Your mindset, your emotional capacity, and how you see the world is module number 1, and that's making boss moves. Module number 2 is linked to what I just talked about. Who are you? Do you know yourself? Do you know what you're good at? You could be a fantastic social media person, but you're sitting there doing some procurement job that you absolutely hate. You could be this talented baker or whatever it is. You might have this gift, but if your gift, I mean, your gift could even just be looking good. But do you know how to turn that into something that you can use, something that you can monetize, something that you can exchange for value? Do you know your strengths, and can you use them to make yourself better and to actually climb, whether it's the corporate ladder, the entrepreneurship ladder, whatever it is? Knowing your strengths and being able to develop and harness them enough is module 2. Module 3 is my favorite. It's the one that I teach. I've been teaching this now for years and years and years, and linked to everything that the guys have been talking about in this session is building a personal brand and maintaining that reputation. It's one thing to build a personal brand where people are left with something when you leave the room, but are you actually using that brand? Do you know the steps that are required to actually create the kind of LinkedIn profile that Sam and them are talking about, or to be able to leave such a mark, such an impact that people are like, goodness, all right, I know there's all these fantastic candidates out here, but you know what? We're going with this person, all right? That ability to make decision-making happen in your favor is all about module 3. Module 4 is social capital. Like I said, even Jesus has disciples. If you do not have a group or a squad or a network or a team that is in your corner, that you have built, that you can communicate to effectively, that you can use for your benefit, that they can actually be working on your behalf. That's why it's called a company, guys. And company is the company you keep. It's the group of people that are around you who are actually helping you figure things out and helping you get that next opportunity. In your workplace, you could have people who you're looking down on, but you don't know how valuable these people are because they might be linked to a network or a group that could really help you progress in your career. So that's what module 4 is: how to make sense of your network and your social capital, and also how to capitalize on it so that you can use it to benefit yourself. Module number 5 is advanced career planning, because failing to plan is planning to fail. If you don't have a plan, you're just there, all right? Winners play with an objective in mind, and knowing what the end looks like and moving with a plan systematically towards that objective is what this course is about. And so when you're in this module, you're not just doing it for the sake of just, hey, there's some actual goals, some SMART goals, some things that you're actually focusing on, so that when you put this in your CV or you put this in your cover letter, you know that you're doing it deliberately. And I heard Ivie say that, the minute she started tweaking and rejigging her documentation, things started to happen. So you need to do things for a reason, not just, oh, well, I was told it's nice to put my CV like this, or it's nice to have a picture. What do you guys think? No, they're deliberate things that you can organize. So that's module 5. Module 6, now, remember I said it's not leadership, and we can't start talking about you being a leader when you can't even think like a leader. Because by this time, you will have some skills and some capacity to actually have people follow you. But if they're following you, are you leading them to the promised land, or are you leading them, to some corner somewhere, and you're not actually helping them or helping yourself? So authentic leadership is course number 6, and that's where you now start to understand what are some of the requirements of an authentic leader. What is it that, from your mindset to your growth, how you think about growth, how you think about, the team dynamic. All of those things are going to be skills that you will be taught in that module. And then finally, we close off by making sure that you can talk and speak and communicate effectively about everything and to everyone that you have met around you. Without effective communication skills, people won't understand or buy into your message. Nobody will be able to make that decision on your behalf. As strong a brand as you have, as big a network as you have, as good a leader as you are, if you can't communicate it properly, it doesn't matter. And that is the entire 7-week module. It starts on the 8th of October. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in class, God willing. And let's keep engaging. I'm glad that at least now my social capital has grown by the people who are on this class. Yes.
No, thank you, Mwenesi. Much appreciated for your time and just for taking us through the course. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the tail end. We have a special offer for the people who are on here. So I'll just ask you, give us a few more minutes. Helen, I see your question. It'll be answered in 2 seconds. I want to ask Naomi, if you could just come on and just share with us what your experience has been in 5 minutes, just to tell us what were the highlights of the time that you had at the Career Hub and what it has meant for you going forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, King Ori.
Yes.
I know I'm standing in between people going, so I'll make it short and try and make it sweet. My name is Naomi Kirungu. I am in education and very passionate about education, and I like to define myself as a teacher at my core. So years ago, I did the Career Hub program, and I actually worked at Centonomy at the time. And I remember it was very early days for the program, and immediately even before I got to review my CV, because I think the last module is around remodeling your CV and redoing that, I got headhunted and I was poached into another company. And looking back at why that happened to me was because of something that Mwenesi likes to call, he was facilitating at that time the personal branding module, and I believe he's still doing that, something called Me Inc., Me Incorporation. When you look at brands that are successful, for instance, Coca-Cola or Safaricom, wherever you are in whichever country, a brand in that particular country, you'll notice that big brands are very deliberate, but when we think of personal branding, it's over and above how you look, how you smell, how you talk. Those are important, but it's more around how deliberate you are. When you think of Coca-Cola, they are very deliberate on where they put their advertising, very deliberate on their ads, very deliberate on how they speak, yeah. But do we, as our own personal brands, how deliberate are you? And I think once I got that realization, I became more deliberate, and I decided this is what I want people to feel or think or do when they interact with my personal brand, yeah. And through that, in almost a couple of months, I got recruited into another company, and I just wanted to I remember in the class there was a concept around people being affiliated to a big brand or a big office. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you work for a big brand, or when your job title starts with chief something, that's amazing. However, who are you without the office? Yeah, who are you without this brand that you work with? What is your personal brand? And I think that's what I carried with me and has helped me sort of elevate throughout my career. Because looking back, even when I went to that organization, I was very deliberate with building my social capital. Concepts I learned in this class, who is speaking on your behalf in those high places. Yeah, how do you make people feel? I remember Mwenesi was like, he told us, when I got into my first job, the first day I went with eclairs, like candy, yeah, and I wanted when people interact with me, they feel sweet, yeah. So it's just those small things. And I remember when COVID hit, now coming to how is this still relevant to my life now, when COVID hit, I think just like companies were shocked, yeah. A lot of people within organizations as employees were actually, there are a lot of people who would feel, okay, what do I do, yeah, and you're feeling very insecure. And I decided at that particular time, I'm going to be very deliberate, just the way after COVID, some brands were deliberate on how they engaged with customers, some were not. I decided for my own personal brand, I'm going to be very deliberate in this office. Yeah, so I worked, I was very deliberate in the kind of work I'm doing and putting a lot of efforts. And a time where the organization is sending people home, I just recently got promoted. Yeah, a time when people, how relevant are you in your business? In this business is a time when I got a promotion. So I think it's the lessons are things that I carried throughout my career. I'm not yet there, or in terms of, I'm not saying all this so that I sound like I've gotten there, but I think just the thing I took away was just knowing who I am, like Mwenesi was saying. Who are you over and above the title, over and above the position you're in? What's the gift that you are given? And then now being deliberate about that gift, because once you work from your point of strength and you build that strength, it becomes almost, people wonder, Naomi, why do you do that so effortlessly? Why do you do this so it's not effortlessly. They think it's effortless, but it's very, very deliberate, and it's working on my strengths. So I think just to try and narrow it down, those lessons that I did many years ago are things I still do now. So I'd encourage everyone to sign up. It's definitely personal development is very personal, and I think it's what sort of separates you from the chaff. And whether you're in you're not sure, am I going to be employed for a long time, or do I want to do my business? I think this course goes over and above whether you're employed or not. Whether you're going to interact with people in a business setup or whether you're employed, it's really, the lessons are things that you carry for a really long time and across industries. So unless there are questions, thank you, Wendy, and everyone for having me. And my LinkedIn is Naomi Kirungu. So if you have questions, I know we don't have time now, but if you have any questions, you could always LinkedIn message me and I'll reply.
No, thank you, Naomi. I see a lot of questions in the chat. So if I'd ask also you and Mwenesi, I see also Sam is still answering questions. If you could also just jump in on the chat as I take guys through the last session. Guys, I really also want to appreciate you for just allowing us a few more minutes just to get to the crux of the matter. And I love what Mwenesi and Naomi have brought out. And essentially what we're putting to you is a 7-week program that's going to be purely online that will help you repackage and reposition yourself for career growth. We have 2 sessions. We have classes on Thursdays between 6 and 9 p.m., which is East Africa time, and that is adjusted based on where you are globally, which the beauty of also being online is you can take these classes wherever you are. If you're traveling, if you're already in another country, it's absolutely possible. So we have 2 classes on Thursdays, 6 to 9 p.m. East Africa time, and also Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is round about this time. Classes begin on 8th of October. If you have any queries, please reach out to Wendy at Centonomy, and we have a discount for you around this time. The initial registration fee was 1,600 shillings or $16. That, if you register today, is 1,000 shillings. 1,000 more. If you're on Mpesa, I'd encourage you put it in and just begin to your journey on this career. So if you register today, it is 1,000 shillings or $10 for those of you who are overseas. The tuition fee is 19,600 or $196. We also have installments of 4,900, and we encourage you, please engage with us, talk to us. We're available to help you on this journey. For those who want to pay on Mpesa, we have a facility. You have the paybill there, and I'll also leave this on a little longer. For those of you who are overseas, you have an opportunity to send your funds through onto a bank account, and we'll be able to engage with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I really just want to close up on this. We've had a fantastic time. We've had a lot of great insights from people who have grown in their careers, who have are recruiting and have shared their insights. And what has stood out for me, and if you could allow me just to bring it as a summary, is the whole question of what value do you demonstrate? Do you know who you are? What are your strengths? I love what Sam put out. When you engage with someone on his social media and you engage with Sam, the person, they are one and the same, which is what Yvonne and Ivie were talking to. Be yourself, put yourself out there, be able to defend what you're about, but also appreciate that if you're able to understand your value, then you can be able to bring value to your organization, and then you're able to grow in that organization. And ultimately, which is what we at Centonomy want to enable you to do, to see that your career growth can actually be the path that you take to your financial freedom and wealth creation. Ladies and gentlemen, with those many remarks, wonderful sessions that we've had, I really just want to thank each and every one of you, beginning with our speakers who have taken their time to be with us. A special shout out to Sam, to Ivie, who I know due to the time difference is very early for them. Really just a big thank you to Yvonne, to Mwenesi for taking the time, and Naomi for sharing your story. Thank you so much. To all of you who have been able to engage with us on the Zoom platform, we got up to about 260 participants. Thank you to each and every one of you. To those of you who joined us on our social media platforms, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook Live, really just want to appreciate you. And to the Centonomy team, a great thanks. And ladies and gentlemen, as we close out, I want to take on the words that Yvonne shared with us, that to be seen, be heard. Visibility is as important as ability in career growth. It has been a pleasure to be your moderator this morning and into the afternoon. My name is Kingori, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. And as you grow in your journey, I encourage you, join us at Career Hub. We begin 8th of October. If you sign up today, there's that discount that's available to you, so that you're able to understand what it is and what it means to be seen and be heard, and you're able to become more visible, and your abilities are then able to come to the fore, and you can grow in your career and your wealth creation journey.